metaphysical friends. Today we're going to discuss your just desserts, or please don't eat the crystals. Today I feel like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So, let's see. Let's see, what do we have today that we should be discussing? Because we're just going to discuss everything that you should not be eating. So I have a delightful piece of coconut cake here next to me. Good. A delightful pear covered in almonds and chocolate. Love it. There's a mocha cake here. Okay, I brought some cappuccino just in case. It's hot though. Okay, and for those that just want a light dessert, I brought some jello. Okay, so there's some tasty desserts here, and if you just want something simple, cup of tea, and we could just have a cruller if you want. Actually, I think it's apple. Okay, but that's it. I'm not here to discuss desserts with you. I'm here to discuss crystals. You know, a lot of people over the years are interested in what does a psychic carry with him? What do I utilize? Are they fancy schmancy stones? Are they lackluster crystals? Or what kind of potency level do they have? How are they amplified? What do I use? So that's what I would like to bring to your attention today. The crystals that I know work for me. Oh, I dressed a little bit today. When I realized I put the shirt on, this Ankh shirt, I realized I kind of look like a waiter at the Hotel Hathor in Cairo. I should be serving rather desserts or something. So I just figured, you know what, I might as well just have the desserts to serve. I look the part. Anyway, getting back to crystals though. The ones that really inspire me, that really work for me, that really have that kind of energy field. So what are they? Probably one of my favorites, amber. This is a honeycomb amber, and it's actually got the honeycomb pieces in it that the bees had made back in literally millions of years ago. So I've got a lot of amber in the house of various sizes. I find this resin, not necessarily a crystal per se, an ancient sap of a tree, works very well for me. It's calming, it's soothing, it allows me to emote in a very centered way. I love it because it makes me feel good. There really isn't a day that I don't go out in the day-to-day world, or even if I'm speaking publicly, without a piece of amber in my pocket. I get nuggets of amber. They're a must. For me personally, they are a must. Second crystal that I carry with me, in smaller pieces of course, quartz. Speaking of course, quartz. Absolute favorite. It's the salt of the earth. You've got to have one. It brings in white light. It vibrates to the crown chakra. Other people pick it up too. They get that sense that you're confident, that you've got white light, that you're goodly. It really only vibrates anyway to goodly people anyway, but it's got such a nice energy in it. So this piece would normally be on the table when I'm doing a reading, but I have, of course, a little clear piece in my pocket just to create white light energy. And here's another example of one that I absolutely love. This one that's set just absolutely delightfully is this baby right here. This gentleman is very metaphysical, so he went through the trouble of creating a base that it sits in. It's got a top pyramid of complete clarity, beautiful windows, and then at the bottom there's just enough smoke, rainbows, and inclusion that when you look into it in a meditative state, you can pick up a lot of visions. Visions of the present, past, and the future. So that's why since time immemorial, quartz balls and crystal balls have been used for just that purpose. Vision work. Another one of my all-time favorites, other than quartz, and it really is a favorite, is selenite. Now I've collected selenite all my life. I've bought little pieces of it, I have wands of it, I have massage tools of selenite, because I have discovered it does create the most white light. So, I'm not necessarily mentioning names of where I get my stones from, but let me show you one of my pieces of selenite. Okay, baby, come to daddy. Wow! Now I know this piece has actually been filmed before. Frankly, it's so bright that I know that when the camera lights hit it, you really can't see too much of the striations in it because it's just that intense with its energy field. So I know it might not translate very well on film, but let me tell you, it is striated. It's a delicate stone, but it does have fiber optic qualities. If I put a light coming from one direction only, if this room was very dark, it would absolutely emanate from the other side. It's very phenomenal. But I do like, I've always liked selenite since it was a fairly recent discovery. And then what really blew my mind is they've recently discovered in Chihuahua, Mexico, that deep in the earth are selenite pieces that literally go from one end of this house, if not frankly this block, to another. So so they've recently discovered there's major deposits of selenite on Earth. Now they're making them into I mean, they're not going to harvest those pieces at all. That's not what the purpose of that thing. That's going to be memorialized. But they make them into now candle holders. And anyone metaphysical understands the white light that emanates from them. Sometimes in summer, I'll even take this baby out. This is 55 pounds, for God's sakes. But I'll take it out and let it pull in a lot of sun and/or moonlight. But if I literally had no other crystal in my possession, it would be Herkimer diamonds. And they're not necessarily inexpensive unless you get small pieces. I do have a bottle here of small pieces. There's probably 100 or more Herkimer diamonds in here. But with Danny, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So I try to find sometimes those that sell Herkimer diamonds in that are much larger. I love them. They are quartz crystals, but at a much higher density, hence the word Herkimer diamonds. They only come from Herkimer, New York, and I have never known a stone to create so much white light. So when I really want to be able to project real magnetism, when I want to feel really good, and it's not an act, I want to be able to project that I myself am in a really good place, Herkimer diamonds do it for me every single time. And anyone that's had them will tell you so. It's just the way of this stone. It is in the quartz family, there's something that's so outrageous that if you can find it, you must get yourself a piece. These are called anhydros. So you get a quartz point, but inside of it is a bubble of water, and it's trapped in a chamber. I have several of these. Again, I have even have the price on it. Spent a lot of money on this baby, but again, sometimes you just have to have the right specimen in your collection. This bubble of water, which is prehistoric, travels through a vein in a chamber in the quartz, so you can move it. I've circled it. Most of the vendors will for you, so that you can see where it is at all times, and you can move the crystal, and you can't really see on film, but believe me, this ancient water, who knows what they'll do with it one day when they're able to extract these from, I'm sure they can extract them already from Herkimers, but I wonder what they'll do when they kind of recreate things or play with nature. But there it flows through, an ancient water that who knows what, some plant life drank from at one time and ultimately got itself trapped in this stone. Or another one of my all-time favorites. I don't have it right here in my collection, but let me explain. You can ask any vendor for it. Faden quartz. Faden quartz is a quartz that has all of its druzy or its points popping out of it. But if you ask the vendor, do you have Faden quartz? And he or she says yes. It's got a spine running right through the middle of it. I find that Faden quartz helps me very much with any back problems or that we sometimes have, or back pain. Anybody that's got back pain or suffers from herniated discs or degeneration of their discs should have Faden quartz. And you'll know immediately if someone says this is Faden. You'll see the spine. You'll see it for yourself. It's a nice white line that runs through quartz. I also love quartz that have inclusions in them, like this baby right here. So it's got a delight. It looks like it's got little hairs of, let's say, copper in it. So whenever you can find any quartz with any inclusions, it adds then a quality. So it's your quartz, but it's also an alloy. So whether it's tourmalinated or whatever the inclusion is, sometimes there are even ghosts in them, specters of another point, but they add an extra energy. And by the way, when I was struggling to remember that word for this particular egg, it's rutile, rutilated quartz. And they can have coppers and brasses and other hair fibers that run through them that make them glisten and quite alive with energy. Rutilated quartz. As a Sagittarius, I have a beautiful piece of turquoise. This is a natural piece. You know what? It's interesting. The crystals that are sometimes, though, assigned to us, I never really felt such an affinity for turquoise, but over the years I've grown to love it. And I find that it does tend to, in its greenish blue color, vibrate to both my heart and throat chakra and allow me to really communicate from my heart, openly, honestly, lovingly. So it turns out it is a good stone for me after all. I had to learn to love it, and I ultimately have. So the last couple of my favorites. I love hematite. It's got jasper. It's got tiger eye veins running through it. It's very grounding, stabilizing, and focusing. Frankly, it should be called the student's stone because it's very good for young people. It allows you to assimilate knowledge quite well. It has very mystical qualities. It's quite heavy. It's iron after all. It's very Scorpio or ruled in a sense, but it magnetizes quite well. So here's all beads of hematite, but they're all magnetic. So they're all attaching to each other, which is quite an astonishing thing that they do that. Love it. I love it. Probably sounds horrendous on film, but I love it. Another one in the vein of hematite, being as we're talking now for a moment about these alloyed stones, is pyrite. Here's a beautiful pyritized egg. I love pyrite. It's a third eye crystal, which is quite unique, and it does allow me to retrieve metaphysical information at an astonishing rate. Absolutely one of my favorites. I've got it all over the house. And lastly, of course, we'll see, is green aventurine. I give this a lot to my clients, and I don't like to give my clients chips of a stone. I'm very generous. In fact, quite often they get larger pieces than this, which is quite a shocker, because these are not cheap, but neither am I. These aventurines are feldspars, so if you put them in sunlight or full moonlight, they sparkle beautifully. I find that they vibrate to the heart chakra, but they allow for manifestation. I find that they can financially even kind of ease your way through money dilemmas, whether you even have them or not, even if you just have money concerns. But they say in a perfect world, because they really bring a lot of luck, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, but in this video it's worth repeating. If a guy gives you aventurine, it's considered to be very lucky, and it always brings the recipient a lot of gain, because it's usually given from the heart. It's like chocolate. Okay, but anyway, it's time to do the reading. So let's see what the vibrations have to say. We're in the midst of all of these carbohydrates. So, let's get the cards. Okay, so let's see what comes through today. So we've spoken about everything from minerals to carbs. But the vibes say this today. As we are moving through very powerful energy fields, and this very potent perigee moon is on the wane, the vibrational fields in today's Grand Trine, just before I speak publicly at the Beltane Fair, says this officially. Number one, the first vibe to come through says this. Okay, it's a beautiful vibration. And I have attributed this vibe lately to, until I can put September in the deck, it has represented the energy fields of the fall, or harvest, or plenty. And this vibration to me has a lot to do with thankfulness. The woman that got this vibe recently, who lost a son, is still living her life with thankfulness and gratefulness, rather, for what she does have. And that's not easy to do. And we all go through our pain and our loss. But if we can project this sense of what is still worth living for, and what makes our lives glisten and is still a reason to smile and be happy, that's what a vibration like this is representing. The first of the harvests. So even though this isn't harvest time now, it's reminding us, maybe though every day is, harvest joy. The second vibration that comes through says this. Okay. And the energy fields say, go up top this time. The vibrational field shows the dyad or the kindred spirits, the people that matter to you in your life. They're important. They are part of the so-called plethora as well, the dessert menu of everyone that loves you. So think in terms of drawing those people close to you. And again, twice in this read, be grateful. Be grateful for everyone that you have. That's the joy that is brought into your life through your dynamic with others. And, wow, that's beautiful. The grand trine of the pyramid, the capstone, the heightened point of the energy fields today. Say this. I'm taking my glasses off for that, baby. The vibrations say this. Come on, big money. Okay. Well, this is a very old painting of mine. It's probably 28 years old. And I've noticed, although we've done a reading today, and the 78 major and minor arcanum are in here, not one of them emerged today. What came through first is this image. Although it is the visage of a woman, I have found quite often, more than not, it's represented male energy in the heavens that has passed over and guides you. However, I know I'm going to be doing a lot of work this week that has to do with spiritual activity. And once again in this video, by the way, excuse me, if you hear rambling and running around, it's Troy again. He's having a ball today. He's got an energy spurt. I'm convinced it's the crystals. He hasn't had any of his desserts yet. But the vibration is interesting. This painting is interesting because of what I wrote on it. It's the spirit world coming through to say something. 28 years ago, I wrote on this painting this. I am with you. I guard your growth. Trust me. And I'll be able to help you to achieve things. For I will accompany you your entire life. I don't think it's an accident that nature, the living, and the deceased all came through to say, we're of great significance and importance, and we're there for you. So, remember ultimately, you are what you eat, and enjoy your crystals. Bear in mind that you can certainly have a ginger sling with a pineapple tart, but ultimately, if you want to be in good health, have an apple.